Welcome back to The Smart Investor. This is Metropole TV. My name is Ahmed-Ceo, and we've got a great guest here with us in the studio. That's Mahat Mohammed Ahmed, the Chief Executive Officer of IBS Bank in Somalia. And I was looking through your resume. You were at Stanchart here in Kenya, Gulf African Bank. So you're a Kenyan.
I am a Kenyan.
You're a Kenyan who went to Somalia to set up a bank.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. It's been a great journey. I mean, I went to Somalia first in 2014 when I set up the first bank. And it's been a great journey because this was a new market, an emerging market where we didn't have a formal banking system.
Not emerging, frontier market, real frontier market.
Yeah,
right?
So you can imagine this is a market that had never seen an ATM machine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we had to start from scratch basically and drive the banking sector across. So it's been quite an exciting journey. It's a highly growing market, I would say.
It is, because I was looking at GDP growth. We're talking 2.5%, 3%. We haven't really gone, we haven't lifted off yet. But you're saying the actual financial service.
I mean, if you look at the macro side of it.
Tell us a little bit about that.
If you look at the GDP, for example, in 2017, we recorded a GDP of 7.1%.
Okay.
I'm sure Somalia then is ahead of a few countries in Africa. Compared to 2016, which was about $6.8 billion.
Okay.
So mainly it's being driven by two sectors. One is the service industry.
What services are we talking about?
Telecommunication, transport. There's a lot of that kind. And then the key sector being agriculture, which has predominantly remained the main sector.
It's an agricultural-based economy.
Yes. And when you look at deeper in the agricultural sector also, you find it's more of livestock, which contributes about 57 to 58% of that.
Yes. Yeah. And this is what, camels?
This is camels, cattle, sheep, goats, etc.
And mostly for sale into...
Mostly for export into the Gulf countries.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
So the biggest market is Gulf countries.
And how sophisticated is it? I mean, do you have is it sophisticated or is it still pretty...
It's pretty traditional,
yes.
I would say. Because for a long time the financial instruments have lacked. We haven't had a capacity to do trade transactions, for example, mainly because the financial sector hasn't really nurtured into that level where you can say that we can issue LCs across the markets. So it's still a cash-based. So it's still a cash-based trade business.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were touching on this point about how difficult it is for Somalia to access the global SWIFT system and stuff like that, because there's a paranoia today, isn't there, amongst the banks?
Yes.
You were saying that no one's been fined for Somalia, whereas they've been fined billions and billions for other misbehavior.
True.
So that's interesting. So you're saying it's all cash-based in order to get around that system? So
it's mostly cash-based. I think right now we've got a functioning, fiscal system. We've got a commercial banks. We've got a central bank that regulates the commercial banks. At the moment, we have 5 licensed banks operating, and 5 new others that were licensed early this year. So the biggest challenge has remained access to correspondent banks. And this has mainly been contributed to the fact that the country is still being perceived as a state that is still not stable. So you'll find that the bigger boys, the bigger banks will shy away from establishing relationships with Somali banks. And as we have rightfully said, no bank has ever been fined for facilitating any transactions into or out of Somalia. So the traditional system, which has been there since the Civil War, has been the money transfer organizations,
which are MTOs, very big, right?
Which are very big. I mean, we're looking at these MTOs as they refer to, moving about. The IMF estimate was about 1.4 billion in 2015.
Inward remittances.
Inward remittances.
But normally these are undercounted because not everybody's ticking a box. And sometimes you'll give it to you and say, take it to my mom, and So it's probably double that.
It's probably double that. Yes. And in that same year, they were estimating it was contributing about 23% of the GDP. So you can imagine it's huge.
It's huge.
So you'll find the country has got a huge trade deficit because it's a net importer country, with hardly any manufacturing happening. So you'll find that it's this diaspora remittances and grants from donor communities that are basically helping to bridge that trade deficit that we have in the country.
Let's look at the politics of the area. If you look, Prime Minister Abiy came on the scene just over a year ago, kind of went on a whirlwind peace tour, made peace with Afwerki in Eritrea, reset the narrative, I felt. Has there been a positive spillover effect from that? Are you more excited about what's happening in your neighborhood?
It is. I mean, I think the Horn of Africa has not, enjoyed the kind of stability, political stability that we have now. And that's opening up. I mean, you're talking about 150 million plus market opening up to each other.
That has to be a good thing.
It's a good thing. I mean, look at what is happening now. For the first time, Ethiopian Airlines is flying into Mogadishu.
Yes.
Nobody ever thought of that. We've got Djibouti Airlines flying into Mogadishu as well, and vice versa. So it's really opening up. There's more cohesion. There's more exchange of ideas and thoughts, and trying to see how, as a bloc, they can move forward. Just as I was sharing with you earlier on, Ethiopia is hosting a financial sector forum in the coming
when
month.
Is that?
That's in the next month.
You'll be there?
22nd. I'll be there as well. So there are a lot of positive things happening coming as a result of this new, political phase that we're seeing. And we are hopeful that with the more stability, then we'll see more momentum.
You think there'll be a peace dividend from that?
Yes.
for somebody like yourself?
Correct.
And your bank?
Yes.
And then so you're optimistic about the area. Now let me throw another question to you. It seems to me that the Gulf countries have come to see this part of Africa as part of their hinterland. Whether it's Khartoum, whether it's Somalia, there's been a tremendous drive out, right, into these countries. We were talking about Turkey being a big player in Somalia. Give us a little bit of an idea of who's invested in the Horn of Africa from the Gulf in particular.
So, I mean, I really don't want to go into the politics of it, but if you look at Somalia, for example, this is a country that has the longest coastline in Africa, if you look at it.
Yes. Huge natural resources.
Huge natural
How much
resources.
oil is there?
Barrels and barrels of resources.
I used to think, Mahat, for a long time that people were suppressing Somalia in order to make sure that oil supply did not hit the world market. And in many ways. But do you see a path to unlocking the riches of Somalia for the people? Do you think there's a pathway?
I think, Ali, what we have witnessed with the Somali people is they've been very resilient business people. Even with the lack of a financial system, with the lack of a governance system or government institutions, we still manage to do business. We still manage to pull our resources together and invest, make huge investments, even in Kenya as we speak.
It's a very big
in the real
community.
estate, trade, and all that. So I think that mindset has sort of pre-existed with the Somali people, and then we are reaching out to markets that are willing to do business with us. You mentioned Turkey, and Kenya itself remains a big,
biggest trading partners, Kenya?
Biggest trading partner remains Kenya still.
Yeah. And then you're a huge community here as well.
We have a huge community here.
And also Kenyans.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then this being a country that is now going through a lot of institutional capacity building, then there's a lot of importation of skills. There's a lot of importation of, expatriates, and mainly Kenyans moving in there. You'll be shocked, we have 30,000 plus Kenyans
in Somalia,
working in Somalia.
Wow.
Which is huge, and driving most of the big organizations, the INGOs, the international government organizations, and all that.
And tell me, how do you feel about the government? Do you feel they're progressive? Do you think they're supporting this growth? Would you say they've had a key influence on it?
So if you look at the last 4 years, and if you look at the World Bank reports that are there, there's a lot of positive things happening. If you look at, for example, the implementation of the fiscal policy, when you look at 2017, for example, where we had a domestic revenue collection of about $143 million for the first time, surpassing the budget by about 103%, and that's now reducing the dependence on grants.
Yes.
Donor grants. It shows a positive indication. And when you look at the growth outlook for 2018-2019, which IMF is estimating at about 3 to 4%, then you're looking at an economy that is on an upward trend. Of course, that growth is mainly driven by, the financial sector.
Yes.
We have the transport sector as well, driving that. We have the communication, the service industry, and the like. So we are, as a business community, we are very optimistic. We believe we've seen the worst of it, and we're sort of now getting embraced into the global financial system. We still don't have working monetary policy system, but that remains a priority for the government.
What do you mean by that?
We still don't have. We're still a dollarized economy.
Yes. Oh, it's all.
I don't know if you knew that. Yeah. So
yes.
it's all dollars. So you'll find that the Somali shilling is there, but less than 1%. You know, more for the small.
It's minuscule.
It's minuscule. You know, the small face-to-face
So everything
transactions.
you're transacting is US dollars.
Everything is US dollars. So it's of high priority for the government and the Ministry of Finance now to introduce a monetary policy, which in the process also there'll be currency reforms happening, reintroduction of the Somali shilling as well.
So you guys can't really control monetary policy because it's the Fed that's controlling it.
It's the Fed that is controlling at the moment, and that's
like
why
they
I say we
control
don't
most
have a
of
monetary
it.
policy.
Yes. Tell us about your bank, Sharia banking, because you said that's the only option in Somalia. But what are you doing? What are you $20 million of capital?
Yes.
That's a pretty chunky amount.
Yes.
That
so
gives you
IBS Bank formally opened back in October of 2014.
Yes.
And I had the privilege of joining
you were the promoter of the bank?
No, I set up another bank prior to that.
Yes.
And officially joined IBS Bank in December of last year.
Okay.
At the moment, we've got a branch network of about 9 branches.
All in Mogadishu? Or
all in Mogadishu. Then we've got an aggressive expansion plan this
more
year
branches
in 2020.
Yes.
So
mobile banking? No.
So mobile banking is there as well.
Yeah.
I mean, and I forgot to mention that mobile money is a huge thing in
is it
in Somalia.
What's your mobile money called?
It's called so we've got 2 players. One is called eDahab, the other one is called EVC. So you've got we've got the Safaricom of there as well.
Yes.
Which is huge in terms of moving huge chunks of money across the markets. So IBS our strategic focus mainly is to make sure that we drive more of a retail-oriented business. It's still a virgin market. You're looking at, World Bank estimates about 3 to 5% of the population is banking at the moment.
That's it?
That's it. And then they go ahead to say that we have about 35 to 40% bankable population. So you can imagine the immense opportunity.
So that's a huge opportunity.
It's a huge opportunity. It's a highly untapped market. I refer to it as a complete virgin market.
Yes.
So we want to leverage on that using different channels. We recently introduced card services. So we never had card business in the country. So we never had MasterCard or Visa card. So if you have your Visa card today, then you can come down to Somalia and use an IBS Bank ATM.
And your people can use that card wherever
and our people, So by virtue of Somalis being people who are frequently traveling, then we find a lot of usage outside the country. So we're continuously revolutionizing our offering, product offering, looking at responding in the quickest means possible in a cost-effective manner to our customers' needs.
If you look at the Horn of Africa, the Somali community is not just in Somalia. There are Kenyan Somalis in northern Kenya. There's a big Somali community in Ethiopia. Is that your geographical span that you're looking at, or you're focused purely on Somalia?
So our short-term to mid-term plan right now is looking at Somalia.
There's enough growth for you to go for.
There's enough growth to go for. I mean, we're looking at a population of about 14 million. And within that 14 million, we're talking of 5% banking at the moment. So it leaves a huge market that is untapped that we want to focus on. Definitely, as we gain momentum, then we'll be looking more regional, expanding to other countries as well.
And does the future look bright to you?
I mean, for me, I always tell everyone that Somalia has been through its worst.
Yes.
I don't think there's there's no turning back at the moment. If you look at the government agencies, if you look at the private sector, which has been very robust over and very resilient over this period of time.
Anyone who survives that kind of period is tough.
Exactly. So there's a lot of optimism. There's a lot of feel that we're moving forward, and we just need to make sure that we get support and acceptance from the international communities. I mentioned to you about the issue of the challenges we are having of payments, for example.
Yes.
So we're looking at, support being extended in terms of us being able to access these financial services as part of financial inclusion globally.
Now, a couple of questions just to quickly finish off. I mean, I remember a time when the Americans were clamping down very hard on the Hawala, the money transfer movement, saying, for funding Al-Shabaab. Has that gone away as a problem?
It's still a big problem because what happened during that time, it was happening around 2014, is they de-risked all the money transfer companies or Hawalas. And this diaspora remittances I was referring to earlier on, about 25% comes from the US.
Yes.
And what was happening now was that all the banks closed accounts for these money transfer organizations. And I mean, it's a system that, amuses me up to now, because the money transfer companies are allowed to collect cash and, take cash out of the US, but they're not allowed to take that money through, channel it through the banks. So the challenge is still there. It's something that the central bank, together with the World Bank and other agencies, are looking at in terms of how to address that issue. It remains, diaspora remittance is the livelihood of the Somali people.
Yes.
The $100, the $50
That's the
that
monetization of your human capital.
Absolutely. So, the sooner a solution is found to that, then the better.
It's been a pleasure talking with you today and giving us insights in banking right at the frontier of the frontier.
Thank you.
And really has been a pleasure, and we look forward to hosting you again.
Thank you.
That was Mahat Mohammed Ahmed, the CEO of IBS Bank in Somalia, giving us insights into what's happening there. It's been a pleasure speaking to him. It's been a pleasure being with you for the last hour. This was The Smart Investor. My name is Ali Khan Sachu, and this was Metropole TV. Wishing you a wonderful evening.